Well, there's been a push this week for any new coal and gas project to have to consider climate change, especially young Australians if they're getting approved. The High Court has effectively knocked out the argument, but it hasn't stopped independent senators and MPs, the Teals, from ramping up fear and pushing their own agendas. Independent Senator David Pocock says without this legislation, young people are doomed.
The developing countries thing is always used. People there, they just want to be able to turn the lights on. And we're now in a situation where solar and wind are cheaper than coal. So why are we profiting off them by just saying, oh, we'll continue to export coal, when we know that it is dooming young people? The developing countries thing is always used. People there, they just want to be able to turn the lights on. And we're now in a situation where solar and wind are cheaper than coal. So why are we profiting off?
And independent MPs Zoe Daniel and Zali Steggall say that Australians are like frogs in a pot and that we are heading towards global boiling. Well, to discuss this, let's bring in Sky News hosts Paul Murray and Liz Storo. Wonderful to see you both.
Howdy.
Hi, Sharri.
So, Paul, what do you think? Is this going to become the new phrase? It's not global warming, it's global boiling. Because already the Teals have adopted it.
Well, if the UN says it, must be true. I mean, you know, the UN's been very clear. They praised China about their response to the pandemic. So whatever they say, let's go with. Here's my challenge to the Teals. Now, the rhetoric that you heard there, where basically, as you said, the point is unless this piece of legislation is passed, then all the kids are doomed. This is because they're MPs for dinner parties and he's a senator for dinner parties where everyone agrees with them. Is there something that needs to be dealt with? You betcha. But here's the deal. Australia's 1% of the problem. Where's their conversation about China? And when any of these MPs champion a renewable energy development in their own electorates, like wind farms on North or South Head in Sydney, like doggy parks in Central Park in Sydney, Centennial Park in Sydney being replaced with solar farms, then I'll start to listen to them. Why? Because they're willing to show what they're willing to lose. But instead, this idea, and again, at the end of the day, once it's built, that's when they turn around and say which form of energy is cheaper or more expensive. But to build what they demand to be built is going to cost, according to the CSIRO, you know, that far right-wing think tank, $1 trillion. That's paid for by the customer or it's paid for by subsidy through government. So my point is, when any of these people want to say, you know what, we approve a wind farm in our electorate, so we can produce energy locally to bring down your bills and save the environment, then I'll listen to them. But then passing pieces of legislation to ban mines on the other side of the country, when the other side of the world is producing 30% of the world's problems, yet none of these people have the strength to blame China and the fact that China's under Paris don't even have to start getting measured till 2030.
Well, that's the thing with China. Albanese is planning a meeting with Xi Jinping later this year. Should this be on the agenda, the Australia-China agenda for the relationship? Should he be putting climate change there and saying, yeah, we're happy to normalise relations, get our trade relations back on track, but you guys need to be doing something on climate change?
He may well do it. We've yet to see him make a move in that direction. I often joke that the reason why China's not so big on all this zero emissions, etc. and so on, is that they already have communism. And so, because so many of these policies, right, are pushing whether it's eat less meat or now, you know, gas is banned in Victoria, EVs, we're pushing EVs, we're subsidising our green power projects as much as we possibly can. The bottom line is, and I had a really good chuckle over the weekend because there was a poll that came out from Freshwater Research.
Yeah, we played it on the show last night. How much you pay? Yeah,
and it goes to show people aren't willing to pay for this. And if they believed in what these kinds of, whether it's Pocock, whether it's Zali Steggall's, what these kind of people are telling people to believe with regards to climate change, it just goes to show people aren't swallowing it to the extent that they want them to. They don't believe the planet is boiling. Otherwise, we'd all be saying, I want to empty my pockets. I don't mind, instead of being like, oh, $5 to $10 more on my energy bill for the month. I'm not up for it.
Yeah.